That's what we're all about here, is bringing people together so that you can collaborate and grow together, because there is an abundance of opportunity out there, which, interestingly enough, a lot of times is a limiting belief that people have, Garrett. They're like, there's just not enough business. And sometimes we don't even know that that belief system is there. Welcome back, everybody, to Life at 10 Tenths, where we inspire you to live at the pinnacle of your ability and purpose. Garrett Fry is he, Matt Benelli is me, and gosh, we're excited to have all of you here joining us. Thank you guys for tuning in. If this is your first time tuning into a Life at 10 Tenths episode, you're in for a treat, because today we're talking about limiting beliefs and why identifying them is one of the most important things you can do before you go down the path of setting a plan for your business. This will allow you to make sure that you're building a plan that actually works for you towards your goals versus might unconsciously set up some roadblocks, Garrett. So I'm excited to get on this path, but good morning to you, sir. How are you today?
Good morning. I'm all fired up. I just got back from an amazing retreat where an incredible group of people, we all got to get together and share ideas and grow together. And I was honored to be a guest speaker there. So it was really nice to be invited out to be able to do that. So I'd like to give a huge shout out to Ryan Seacrest, not the one that you guys might know from all the television shows and all the crazy stuff out there, but Ryan Seacrest is an amazing speaker. Rise with Platinum Partners is his company. And it was great to be there. It was an honor to speak with and be with those people for the week. And just incredible energy. So I'm a little fired up right now. I'm charged, man, in a very positive way. So
it's good, man. Well, we have a really fun October. I know you all are hearing this at the end of October, but Garrett and I have a fun October with events like this. I'm going to be out in Vegas next week, and we're bringing in a lot of really good stuff. I love the collaboration that goes on inside certain segments of the industry. A lot of people look at real estate and they're like, gosh, it's so lonely. Everybody's kind of out for themselves. But if you find the right people, the collaboration is massive. And so find your people, and hopefully we can help provide a gateway for you to those people as well, because that's what we're all about here, is bringing people together so that you can collaborate and grow together, because there is an abundance of opportunity out there, which, interestingly enough, a lot of times is a limiting belief that people have, Garrett. They're like, there's just not enough business. If he's doing the business, I can't do it, right? And sometimes we don't even know that that belief system is there. Oh, gosh.
I'm excited to go down this path today, Matt, because it's an interesting thing. As you're putting a plan in place and you want to grow, you're going to places you've never gone to before. You're setting new goals, new achievements. You are building this thing out to something in a place that you've never been. What a lot of times we do is we start to look around and go, well, who are the people that I know that have done this before, that I've seen do it? If you know of anybody, there's a whole place in going into uncharted territory. That's a whole nother fun conversation we could probably get into. But there's that understanding of, okay, what do I know about going to this level, doing this thing, building this business this way? And what are the voices that start to come up? What are the internal belief systems that start playing? And a lot of times we can sabotage our plan way before we actually get a chance to go and achieve it, because our brain just keeps running on these tracks. That's like, I don't want to be a person that makes that kind of money because I've seen somebody that makes that kind of money and I don't really know if I like that person. I don't want to be like them. I don't know if I really want to work that hard. I don't really know if I'm a professional enough to be at that level. I don't know. Like, we carry so much stuff internally that sometimes I'm like, do we like ourselves? Like, be nice. Be like, you've got great talents and great skills. Take it easy. But that's going to be fun to go down this path, Matt.
Well, I like how you brought that up in particular. Well, I don't want to make that much money because I don't like who those people are. Because yesterday on our group coaching, while you were out speaking and inspiring a ton of people there, we actually talked about that in particular and how,
funny.
There's these differences between what might be a limiting belief in terms of what do we believe or not believe in ourselves, and then the negative beliefs of what do we believe is external. And that one in particular, right? Like, you think about it, and that is something that can hold people back. And we kind of went through this conversation where people are like, yeah, most people who make that kind of money, they're snooty, they're greedy, they must have lied or cheated to get their way there. And so that's going to literally just cross that off the list of in terms of being available to you. And so you can ask this question of like, well, if I have these big goals, what are the downsides? What are the cons of achieving that? And the whole point of this exercise, Garrett, right, is to bring to the surface what these beliefs are. We'll conquer them. We'll do our best to overcome them. But understanding what they are and if they're there is going to then allow you to at least know they exist. Because I think a lot of people, Garrett, they don't even know that until they even have that conversation. You'll just see people run through their lives with certain levels of action and conversation about, just using this example of people who make a certain amount of money without actually having the conversation of like, wait a minute, is that actually a belief system that I have internally? And where did it come from? And how do I identify when that took place in my brain so I can better understand it? Because then when you say, is it really true? Is everybody who makes money really that bad? And the answer is usually no, it's not.
Well, so like I just hung out with a group of about 25 people that a lot of them are really high producing agents. We're talking 100 million volume, give or take around there, doing lots of transactions. And then one thing I love about this group that I was with is that they didn't break it down to like, it's just about making 100 million or things like that. Like what they also brought in was like a lot of people that are doing a lot of transactions. So they might be making less than 100 million in volume, but they are cranking on the transactions because their price point, or maybe where they're at. I talked to one person, their price point still 250,000.
Yeah.
And it's like, my goodness, like you're still doing a lot of sides to make, a really good chunk of money when it comes to the end of the year. But it's interesting to see, like, these were the nicest people in this room. I met the nicest people. They were so welcoming, supportive, growing together. The energy that came out of them is like, okay, that's what I look at when I see top producers like that. But there's a good section that if you want to go looking for them, you can find the snooty ones. But you can do that with anything. Like you can find that in any place at all if you want to go looking for it.
Yeah, just get in your car and go drive in traffic. You're going to find people of all different income levels acting a fool, right?
Like you're going to imagine, I'm going to go out and find some road rage today, and I'm just going to determine that all drivers have road rage.
But if you then look for the good things, like every morning, like and using this as an example here, every morning there's traffic when I'm dropping the kids off at school, right? And there's one intersection that you come out and it is just like, it's a terrible intersection. There's a beautiful oak tree like right in the way, so you can't see anything. Traffic is backed up. People are probably late for work. And every morning somebody lets me out on both sides because I have to make a left, which means the people coming from my left and the people coming from my right have to stop for me to get out. And every morning it happens. Someone stops, they wait, they wave somebody in, and it is just like a well-oiled machine. Now, every now and then there's somebody who just like sneaks through, whatever, they have the right of way. But if you look at the positive of that, I guess I could see somebody sitting there going like, nobody's letting me in. This is terrible. But if you look for the good, it's really, really easy to find as well.
Well, so if we're going to talk about basically like drivers and cars and things like that, this is where my brain kind of went to, Matt, is that there are certain brands of cars that we have serious beliefs and opinions about. Some people might go, oh yeah, BMW drivers are this, Porsche drivers are this, Subaru drivers are this. We have these belief systems that we kind of like build around this. And when you see a Subaru driver or a BMW driver, we have a belief of what that means. And if the time comes, maybe to buy a car, upgrade a car, you might go, I don't want to drive that car because of my belief system that I have around that brand and the people that drive those types of cars. There's the same type of thing that can happen when you are growing a business, when you're pushing these levels up. And it's really good to go and say, is that a reality? Is that true? Where did this come from? And what was its intention when it was given to me? So I'll share this with you, Matt. And I think we've talked about on the podcast before, but it was part of my actual presentation that I did, which is when I was a kid, all I wanted to be was a race car driver. That was it. At one point when I was growing up, probably around the age of 10 years old, my dad sat me down and imposed his reality on me, which is race car drivers come from certain families. It's a very expensive hobby. We don't have the money to do that. And I just don't want you to get let down. That was his whole thing, is I don't want to have you get frustrated as you get moving forward that you're going to make a career being a race car driver. At almost 38, 39 years old, he came back to me and apologized. And he said, I want to say I'm sorry. I knew better. I should not have taken that goal away from you. I imposed my reality, my belief system on you. And I need to give it back to you. Like, you can be a race car driver if you want to go do it. And he's like, I feel bad that I did that. And that led into a chain of events. Having my dad now take this reality that I had decided to own, that I never came up with it. It was given to me by somebody else, which is my dad just trying to help me. Now that I was able to get that to go away, it was like 6 months later, I was on a racetrack. After years of that goal being taken away from me. And I think for anybody who's making a plan, putting their business plans together and starting to grow where they want to go to, this is that time to listen to that little voice that comes up and say, where did you come from? Like, did I make it up, or is it somebody else? I found more often than not, Matt, somebody else gave you that belief system. And it usually happened at a fairly young age. Somebody gave it to you.
And so this is a good question to ask when you start to identify. And actually, I'm going to back up one step and then get into this. Is if you bringing these to the surface, another question you can ask yourself is like, why not me for these goals that I have? Why not me? And bring out all the limiting beliefs, right? Like for you, it's like, well, I want to be a professional race car driver. Why not me? Well, my dad says that I can't, blah, 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 right? You find out why not. Okay, here they are. And then you ask, how old are these beliefs, right? Like, so for that one in particular, it's like, not just where did it come from, but how old is it, so that we can get to the place and time to understand where it did come from. Because you have that clear identity of that. Now, that maybe wasn't as clear until your dad apologized, right? And if we have trouble having that clarity of like, well, why is this belief exist? Let's go find out when it came to be. Yep. Can we discover when it was there? And then we can then analyze what happened in that moment. Did somebody say something? Did we not accomplish something? Was there a point of embarrassment? Or was there just something that we witnessed that we're like, oh gosh, like that shouldn't happen? Like, you may think all BMW drivers are obnoxious because when you were a kid, you saw somebody in a BMW cut your parents off while you were in the back seat and crash into another car, right? And you're like,
or let's say there was no crash. Let's say your dad just went, I hate BMW drivers.
Yeah. It doesn't even have to be anybody saying something to you. It's just something you witnessed. And all of a sudden that belief system is in there. Garrett and I, by the way, both drive BMWs. So I can say that all those stereotypes are 100% true. Not at all. Not at all. No, they're not true. We are amazing human beings. And so when you identify how old it is, you can then start to work through it, because I find, Garrett, like having this is probably one of the toughest conversations we can have with ourselves, is really diving into our limiting beliefs, because we don't want to acknowledge them. Our conscious brain goes, ow, that hurts. Our non-conscious brain says, this is just part of our program. Why are you challenging me? Like, I'm the boss here, right?
Yep.
But these are the conversations we want to have, because between here and our goals is all of the limiting beliefs. And sometimes we overcome them a little bit, sometimes we don't. And then we kind of make progress. But then when that one comes about, it can just push us all the way back to the beginning. We might be on the path, and like, using the money as an example, it's like, I'm so close to like hitting this crazy goal. And you're like, people who make that are terrible people. And it can just push you all the way back, and you can wipe out all your gains just like that.
Yeah, there's a lot of sayings about money that we kind of hang on to. And, money is the root of all evil. And, talking about, again, usually I think a lot of times people look up and they'll say like, again, do you really want to be like that? To get rich like that, you got to steal from others. You have to coerce others. You have to, trick people to be able to get that kind of wealth. There's lots of belief systems that start to come up. And again, I think the biggest thing is recognizing where they're at. And Matt, I think as you said it is that why not me?
Yeah.
Like why not being able to go and have this? And you talked about like, my dad's voice coming up, and then really the voice that came up for me all the time was not my dad saying like, I don't think you can do it. It was the voice of, it's really expensive to do that. And you got to be a part of a family that races to be able to, these were actually the voices that were roaming around in my head. Never even correlated it back to my dad at all. It was just this like, I was born in the wrong family. We got to have it's crazy money to be able to do this. You got to maintain these cars. And the other thing is that I think like when it comes down to it, like if anybody looks at what I race, like it's not NASCAR. It's not like And so you have this other part there of going like, yeah, but is that really racing? Is that really like, are you really racing cars? And you have to step back and go like, yeah, I'm racing a car on a racetrack against other people. Yes, race car, done. Like we that is part of the vision that we wanted to have. What did I turn it into in my mind of this crazy level that made me cut it out altogether? When really, as my wife says, it's one of the more affordable things that I can go do. Like, yeah, it's expensive, but it's like at the end of the day, like there's many more expensive hobbies that I could have in the way that I'm in racing.
And I think when we uncover these things, like it's not like you're going to all of a sudden have the answer either.
Nope.
Like, yeah, racing's expensive, whether it's 24-hour of Lemons or 24-hour of Le Mans. Now, the race car driver is actually getting paid in those instances. So it's really cheap for them because they're going to make money.
You would be surprised how little money those drivers get paid.
True, but they're net positive, whereas you're kind of net negative in Lemons.
Well, I'm not sponsored yet. By the way, if you have, if
Yet.
you are thinking of
Power of
sponsoring
yet.
something,
Yeah.
do you imagine? I'm going to go out next time and there's going to be just realtor banners all over my race car. I'm like,
Jocelyn's going to sponsor your car. That's what's going to happen, right?
there you go.
Well, so we uncover these beliefs, which uncover a problem a lot of times, which is why we don't want to have these conversations. But this is why it's important to do this work before you plan so that you can understand how you can get there. Because let's say it is expensive to race and you can't do that yet because of the current reality, and focus on the yet portion there.
Yep.
Now it's like, okay, I have this belief that I need to have this much money. Let me do the analysis, see how much money I actually need to do this. And yeah, that is more money than I've made, but I am worthy of making that, right? And then that uncovers another belief that we may have to work through. But then you get to then see, okay, what's the plan for me to get there? Because, and I heard this from someone once, which makes a lot of sense. If you desire something, if you can think it, then you should go after it. Just because you think it doesn't mean that it's not there for you. We don't get these thoughts and images and desires that are associated with good, I should say, for no reason, right? There's a path to getting that. If you can think it, you can achieve it. Therefore, let's go and develop the plan instead of letting the limiting belief shut the door before we even start working towards it. Because, okay, we need to earn a little bit more money. Well, how does that happen? Then that opens up the limiting belief of time. Well, I don't have the time. I don't want to. I had this conversation with an agent. I actually have had this conversation with several people over time where we'll talk about models in the industry, right? Ryan Serhant comes up as, a celebrity real estate agent, obviously with $1 Million Listing in his shows. And I'll have people say, well, I don't want that lifestyle. Like he just works all the time and I want to be able to see my kids and everything. And I'm like, okay, cool. And maybe that's what his lifestyle is like, right? And he could be a workaholic and all this. I don't know him personally. I was like, okay, well, do you have to have his lifestyle to have his success? Or maybe you don't want to have that success, but what success do you want to have? And does it mean that you have to do that? And is that really 100% true? And what evidence do you have? Like, how do you know Ryan never sees his kids? It's like, well, he doesn't post about it on social media. It's like, is that 100% true? Because I just saw a post the other day of him playing with his daughter. So, and I know that's kind of a superficial example, but it is one of many conversations that we could have in our head that we just put roadblocks up saying, I don't have the time. So then we uncover that and we just get to go deeper and deeper. You see the layers that this uncovers.
It's a great way to look at that limiting belief of the correlation between how hard I work and how much money I make. And the reality, from everything I've watched in my life, the people that I've been around, there is zero correlation between how hard you work and how much money you make. I have watched people work, 3 jobs and just to, get food on the table and to make sure that their family's taken care of and work their tail off. And they're not making a whole lot of money, but they're doing what they need to do to survive. I also know some people that do 1 hour a day of their job and they make ridiculous amounts of money. And it's like, okay, where is this correlating factor? We were at a racetrack a while back, Matt, and I might have talked to you about this, but there's this gentleman that we had this huge trailer, this beautiful race car. He's got this, he's all you can tell, he's got his race suit, he's got his helmet, and he's kind of a little bit awkward kind of guy. And I got a chance to have lunch with him, and I'm like, what do you do? What is your career? And he says, I'm retired. And I said, okay, well, before you were retired, what did you do? I'm fascinated by this. And he said, So you know, when you go to Reno and you have a slot machine and you pull the handle down on it, I said, yeah. He goes, I created the algorithm that makes that work. It's one used in all the casinos in Reno. I was like, oh. He's like, yeah. He goes, I'm kind of a geek. He's like, that's really like, I'm a math geek. I like that, and algorithms like that and that type of stuff. That's what he did. Now he's just collects checks. That's all he does is collect checks, ridiculous amounts of money. Every time somebody puts a quarter, puts a dollar in, everything, he gets a percentage of it. It goes back to him. And so you look at this and go like, okay, that's a prime example of let's break this model of how hard you work, this and what you're going to make. But that is a belief system that so many people hang on to. And you might be sitting there right now going, yeah, but I'm not a scientist and I'm not a mathematician and I'm not making algorithms. I'm a real estate agent. And to do more real estate, I got to sell more homes. And it's like, really? Well, what if you have a higher price point? What if you find, there are some people that in the right way can build a team.
Yeah.
There's the wrong ways to build a team, by the way, and you can work harder and make less money at the end of the day. So just be aware of that. Like there are lots of avenues here that, I look at it as like when you open up your mind of like how hard I work. I was talking with my daughter Jocelyn as she's getting her real estate license, and I threw an idea on the table and I said, look, if you get your real estate license, I know realtors all over the United States. I said, if you have people, and my daughter actually has a decent database here in town. What if you just made referrals? What if you just did that? What if that was your game? You presented yourself to your people as like, I've got connections all over the United States. If your family members need real estate anywhere, I can help you find a great agent. That's actually what my job is. I am here to make sure you're going to find great representation wherever you're going to go. And you just take referral checks from it. How hard are you working at this point in time? What are you doing? You're going out on the boat and you're hanging out with your friends and you're talking with all your people. And they're like, hey, Jonathan, we need a deal in Sioux City, Iowa. Oh, I've got somebody for you there. Here, let me make the connection. Little check rolls in. How hard is she working?
Well, and I think this gets into, and we've talked a little bit about this before, is like, what is the true definition of hard work? We mostly equate it to time when and I think that's one of the core foundations of a lot of limiting beliefs that we have are around time and money. And if we bring them to the surface by asking these what ifs and come up with all the reasons why, I'm not a scientist, but just put yet on the back of those things. It doesn't mean that you're going to be a scientist, but let's leave the possibility open and then remove the perception that you have of money and time right now, because it's going to change. Every minute that we get older, our perception of time changes. And because monetary policy and the way economics work, like money is not like what we think it is in its static state. Like the value of our money in our pocket today is going to be different tomorrow, right? And the value of the products and interests and things that we have is going to be different tomorrow. So if we then remove those elements from the limiting factors that we have, it's like, oh, I can figure this out.
Yeah.
There is a path. And there will be some things that you go and explore on your goals that you're like, actually, I don't really want that. Because there could also be a limiting belief that is holding you onto a goal that you don't even really want. And I know that's another discussion of whose goals are whose and whose goals are yours. But having this conversation, if you don't bring this stuff up, Garrett, if you don't ask the what ifs, if you don't say, why not me, or why me, or what do I believe about the success that comes with these goals that I've set? What is the downsides of achieving these things? One person yesterday, Garrett, said, well, if I am doing that much business, I'm not going to be able to give the same level of service and care to my people. I was like, ooh,
Limiting belief.
This is a great one because so many people share that. And it's like, okay, well, what would need to be true in your world for you to be able to give that level of service and still do that volume of business? And really explore that, because now all of a sudden it's like, well, I guess if I hired this person, if I had this skill, if I was able to have this level of preparation and planning and communication, if I had a driver over here doing these things, it's like, oh, okay, so there is a way to still give that level of service and care. Now we have to figure out how do we put the logistics together, but that then becomes the plan, a hard plan, but now we have a plan that's actually going to take us to where we want to go, that's going to cruise above those limiting beliefs.
Well, and I think, Matt, when you have these limiting beliefs sitting in front of you, what you need to acknowledge is that if I hold on to this limiting belief and I don't dissect it, if I don't figure out where it comes from, all your brain can see is things that will back up what this limiting belief is. You will go through as you start your plan, as you're making this all come together, and your brain's going to go, yep, I knew it. I knew that this was going to be difficult, and I didn't want to work that hard. And I didn't, this is causing me to be this person that's all hyper, about making money, and it's all about money now. And I didn't want to do this to begin with. And all of a sudden you cancel the plan 2 months into a 12-month year, and you're like, I'm out. Well, so, and we've seen people do it. We've seen people throw complete business plans out because they're caught in it.
I've done it before with certain things where I'm just like, this isn't, this isn't for me, and I'm out. Right.
When you dissect that limiting belief, now all of a sudden you say, okay, one, I don't hold the truth to it anymore. I don't necessarily believe that that's the way this thing has to work. You now have dissected to a place that you've opened up the other side of the spectrum, which is the what if. What if it did work? Why do I deserve it? How could we make it work differently? And all of a sudden your brain starts to go, ooh, and there's an option of how it could work. Here's an option how it could. I like that one over there. Let's do that one over here. We find it with hiring assistants. I find it when I'm working with somebody and they have all these roadblocks that come up about how I don't know how I'm going to be able to afford them, but then I got to train them and I'm not really good at training people like that. And you got all this stuff that comes up. It's like, oh my gosh, just let's turn ourselves over here. What if you got somebody that was already trained? What if you worked out a plan with them that they were on a split with you so that they get paid when you get paid? What if, there's all these different ways we can work this out? And it's like, okay, I understand.
If you read one of the many, many books out there that actually tell you how to hire assistants.
Exactly. So I think it's like, as we go into this and as we're talking about this, Matt, it's like, one, when you're going to make these great plans, when you're going to plan this year out, set goals that you've never accomplished before, go to levels that you want to go to. It's really important that you stop and you listen to that internal voice. When you hear those limiting things come up, stop and ask yourself, is that going to help me get to this goal? Am I willing to accept it that is truth and fact, and this is the way life really is? Or do I want to put some pressure on and say, I want to see something different.
Yeah.
I want that level of success, but I'm going to be a different person at that level of success. What do I want that person to be? Let's build that out also as a goal. As I hit these certain levels, I'm going to be this agent that is still providing this incredible level of service, that does give back to the community and takes care of the people that are around me, that is well respected and, looked up to. You can build that out as part of the goal, not the limiting belief.
And I want to add this into, because there are certain things that we'll just be like, oh, well, this is totally true. I'm not an NBA player yet, right? And I probably won't be an NBA player yet. Add the yet onto anything that you believe really is true. If you go and explore limiting belief, this is totally true. I cannot do those things. Just put yet after it, just to give yourself the opportunity. I don't care if it's something that you don't want to achieve, or if it's something that you just know it's like, yep, I'm 4'8". I'm not going to play in the NBA. If that's something that's going through your head, just put the yet on the back of it to leave your mind open so that when you get into your planning, you can actually figure out the pathway, because no matter where you are, there's a pathway to get to where you want to be, particularly if you remove time and money from the factors there. At some point, we'll put those back in, but to get started with your planning, this is, Garrett, I think, a crucial step. Let's bring those belief systems to the surface. Let's identify them, have a tough conversation about them. Now you can go ahead and plan, which going to November, this is a great month to plan so that you can be ready to go in December to launch right into 2025. I can't believe that we're already there, Garrett, but we are.
So as we're talking about that, Matt, and we wrap up this episode, we are doing business planning inside the 11 Circle, inside our community, and in our coaching program. And I'm really excited to get this kicked off. Matt and I have developed our version of what is it called the GPS, which is a global positioning system if you're out there in your car. But you have a GPS that helps you know exactly where you're going, what you're going to achieve, the routes that you're going to take. And we're going to be building this out for all the people that are in our community. We're going to be lots of coaching sessions on this. So I want to encourage any of you out there, if you're looking for a great business plan, if you're looking for a community that can help you get there, come check us out. We've got a lot of great options in here. And Matt, super excited to see where this is going. So life at 10tenths.com.
And the great thing is this isn't like an additional thing. This is just part of being there.
Part of
this
coaching.
What we're doing in November. And if you miss a session, everything's going to be recorded just like it always is. So there's nothing extra that you need to do. You just got to be in the 11 circle to have access to this stuff that we're doing, which is really great. And if you don't want to have access to that, but you're looking for just a little bit more than what we do here on the podcast, we have a light access that involves some mindset stuff, some of our books, our book review, our book insight things, and our monthly challenges, which are a lot of fun too. In fact, we just did, well, at the time of this recording, as we're recording, we're tomorrow going to go and venture and do this 12-hour walk, Garrett, which is going to be so epic. And we're going to, that's like kind of like a little challenge we threw out to our crew. And we're going to be doing a recap of that and kind of the mental breakthroughs and things that we've experienced. And a bunch of people in the community are going to do it. And hopefully more and more are going to do it after this. And that's something you can get in there too, as part of the light access, to just be kind of a part of that world and doing some fun things like that.
Well, and as we talked about business planning, if you're listening to this after the business planning happens, let's say it's December, let's say it's January, let's say it's February, and you're tuning into this episode and you're like, I wish I would have done that. As Matt said, it's all recorded. It's in there for the people that are involved in that coaching program. And so, again, don't feel like you missed out on anything. You can come back, you can build out your business plan, get yourself going on the right track, no matter where you are in your year. So with that being said, Matt, thank you so much, sir. And this was a great topic. It fit perfect in kind of where my life is at right now and what I've been doing here over the last couple of days. And this is awesome.
It is always great. Well, thank you, man. And thank you, everybody, for joining in and tuning in. We love you guys. If you're on YouTube, hit that like, the subscribe, and the little bell thingamajigger.
And share.
And if you're on your audio platform, leave a review if you guys don't mind, if you're getting some good value out of it. And if you're not getting good value out of it, let us know too. You can shoot us an email. Like we take feedback. We want to make sure we're out there helping you guys live the best that you possibly can.
Thank you, everybody. Have an amazing day. Have a great week. We'll talk to you soon.